Hello, my name is Michaela O'Connor Abrams, founder of Mocha Plus. Welcome to our Collective Conscience series. We created this series for you to bring together great minds from around the world on myriad topics that we hope will expand your mind, will challenge your current beliefs, and give you an opportunity to be inspired with every video. Enjoy.
Good evening and welcome to our 29th Collective Conscience. I'm Shelley Tatum Kieran, partner at Mocha Plus, and we are so thrilled to have Joy and Duskie with us this evening, and all of you who are joining us. Some of you have been with us before. Thank you for coming back, and some of you are newcomers, and welcome to Collective Conscience. We're thrilled to have you here. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Michaela, Joy, and Duskie.
Thank you so much, Shelley. So this is week number 29 of Collective Conscience. And for those of you who've not had the opportunity to join us before, Shelley and I set out to gather great minds, thinkers from around the world on myriad topics to give everybody a needed break from technology and the daily grind. Now, mind you, this is pre-COVID, second chapter of social justice and civil rights and a pandemic and a few other things that are facing us, and an election, of course. And so what happened when we, of course, came into COVID and changed an in-person opportunity for us to gather was to go on Zoom every week and up our game. And I hope those of you who have joined us before have enjoyed it. Those of you who haven't, please continue to join us. The night tonight is our second week of fall pairings, meaning two great minds coming together and being able to share with us how they got together, what their partnership yields for others, for new ideas, and again, a chance to really be inspired, learn something new, and maybe even take part in the endeavor that's presented. So without further ado, Joy Sterling and Duskie Estes, welcome to Collective Conscience. We are so honored to have you both tonight.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Hi, everybody. Scott, what are you opening there?
Look, I got this.
And Drew, you have a drink. Duskie has Iron Horse. Beautiful, beautiful. And I see that it's Shelley's birthday month.
You know, yes, as a matter of fact, yay. So I'm just drinking limonada, wow. I'm afraid.
21 at last. Yay.
It is.
Thank you.
We keep celebrating. She doesn't let me forget that we're still in October, and we started celebrating on the 30th of September.
That's so great.
And
And
same
Terry
in April.
is an old friend of mine. And I'm so happy to see you, Terry. Hi. And Corrine Munson I saw is here from Sausalito. This is just, thank you so much, Michaela and Shelley and Duskie. This is so fun to bring so many beautiful people together.
Well, it's wonderful, and it's an honor for us, for both of you. So for everybody on Salon tonight, you perhaps have seen or heard of or met possibly Joy Sterling, the CEO of Iron Horse in Sonoma, and her incredible, not only running of an amazing premium winery, but one that gives back on so many platforms. They're almost too numerous to mention in one evening. The one tonight that we're going to focus on is the one formed with her partnership with Duskie Estes, who in her own right, entrepreneur, restaurateur, television personality on Iron Chef seasons, I think 2 and 5, right, Duskie?
3 and 5.
3 and 5. And so to bring two incredible women together who are so bright and have championed agriculture and how that gives back is the topic for the evening. So what I want to also do is let each of you know that with this, as Shelley mentioned, you are muted, but if you want to ask a question in midstream, you do not need to wait till an end Q&A, because we love having the dialogue. We have a group intentionally the size to allow us to interact like that. So you can click and raise your hand, ask to be unmuted, and absolutely ask a question that you feel will help develop either that concept or ask a question that we'll all be pleased that we didn't miss. So please don't hesitate to do that. So without further ado, Joy and Duskie, you met 20 plus years ago, right? So you've known each other a long time.
We were little things.
But you out of grammar school, I think, right?
Barely.
I thought.
I just learned to walk with her as my neighbor.
And when, Duskie, you founded Farm to Pantry, the whole idea being how do we take the bounty coming out of California farms and make sure that it's able to be shared, and so that we have a much more sustainable way of providing fresh, good, clean food to people who otherwise would never have access to it. Tell us about what that connection with Joy, because you'd already known each other for a good 8 to 10 years then. So share with us, both of you, what that new partnership looked like when you talked about how to work together and what you were doing.
Well, I just want to clarify, actually, Melita Love, who's one of the folks on our Zoom tonight, is the founder of Farm to Pantry. I actually just joined Farm to Pantry in the middle of the pandemic. And well, I guess now it would be the start of the pandemic, sadly, because it's been going on and on and on. But I joined Farm to Pantry in the middle of April. And so Melita did all of that groundbreaking work to found the organization in 2008. She loved going to farmers markets, and she saw the bounty that Sonoma County's farmers provide that is the most amazing produce that any of us have ever seen. And she also saw that not everybody had access to it, not even the people that get to grow it sometimes don't have access to it. And so that didn't sit well with her, and she set out to make that be different and not like that. And so she's been doing the long fight. I took over the reins in the pandemic, where the need, as we all know, quadrupled. The lines of folks who are in need of food has multiplied immensely between the pandemic and the fires. They are saying 1 in 3 people in Sonoma County are now facing food insecurity. And as we all know, the most immunity boosting goods in your basket would be the produce, would be the fruits and vegetables. And so those things are often not available in a food bank or a food pantry. Mostly what you get is dried or canned goods. And so it's a very special thing that Farm to Pantry does to knock down those walls of access and make sure that everybody has access to this kind of beautiful produce that we have, that Joy grows on her property. And so, yes, I have a long love of Joy because she brings joy to everybody. You cannot be with Joy herself or her family's makings without having a wonderful time. Like bubbles in your glass generally make everybody happy. And if you're talking to Joy, then you're doubly, it's a win-win. So I have loved Joy for, the 20 years that I've known her. We have represented her wine in our restaurant for those 19 years that we had it until the flood. And so when she called and said, "Hey, I hear about your new gig. Would you like to come glean here?" Of course, the immediate answer was absolutely. And again, Farm to Pantry is a win-win-win and a win. It has 4 wins because the recipient who gets that incredible peach or that fragrant quince off of Joy's tree or the best Comey's pear you ever had. I have to tell you, I did get a text from one of the sites saying they'd never had a pear like that, Joy, because it's so luscious and creamy and fragrant and floral, and so that is a win, obviously, for the recipient, but also for the gleaner. It's a win because you sweat and you give of your labor, and there's no deeper connection than from actually picking it and then delivering it in the same day and seeing the people who benefit from it. So it's the gleaner, it's the farmer, and it is also the recipient. So there's win-wins all the way around for everybody. So I feel crazy lucky to have actually stumbled into this job. I stumbled into the job during the pandemic because I always, at times of adversity, my answer to my horrid ADHD and is that I need to be busy. And I need to be busy helping others with my physical labor. And I always did that through cooking. Obviously, many of you may have known about the fire cooking that we often do. And in the time of the pandemic, the cooking felt scary because I have parents in their 70s and 80s that I tend to and buy groceries for and see on a fairly often basis, and I didn't want to bring them a different kind of gift that nobody wants to have. So being in a kitchen was scary for me, and so then I decided to check out this gleaning idea, which was to go out on a farm and go get the goods and bring them to people who needed them. And it really, really sung to me. And then I heard that the opening was, the job was available for the executive director, and I took a leap, and they too took a leap to bring me into the fold. So I feel crazy lucky, and I get to work with people like Joy all over this county. Sonoma County has so many generous farmers, growers, makers, winemakers that just keep giving. They never say no,
Wonderful. Well,
Duskie is about the most giving person I know, and all of us in Sonoma County have watched her and her husband and her daughters cooking at the evacuation centers and the command centers, and they're just always there for us. And this worked out beautifully, because one of the issues when you have so much abundance in a garden and you'd love to contribute it, but the mechanics of actually getting the fresh produce to where it's needed takes volunteers, and volunteers who come and are equipped to pick and pack and deliver. And so, I mean, it was just a gift for us to be able to call and make that connection immediately. It's it's just a one-stop easy thing to do. And by the by, we ended up still with plenty of pears for ourselves, so no problem. But they did pick, I want to say, almost 600 pounds of pears.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And we say every pound gets produce to 4 people. So, that's over 2,000 servings that we got in just a couple hours on your property. Yeah. Amazing.
Incredible. Well, first, let me do this. Let me properly attribute. Thank you so much, Duskie, for adding that important note. And Melita, I know you're on, we can't see you, but thank you for starting this endeavor in 2008, because it's the more that Shelley and I learned from preparing for this, we were so impressed that something so close to our homes exists, and you can bet that you will have lots more gleaners joining your effort from this. It's really, really exciting. But let me go to some of the structure of this, Duskie, because if I think about stakeholders in this, and you've already mentioned how important it is, obviously, to have the farmers and the gleaners and then your consumer. The way, as I was looking at Farm to Pantry, you talk about the givers, the gleaners, and the growers, right? And that partnership even if we just look at California, right, could feed more people than we can imagine. But the issues, kind of, Joy, that you just brought up about, yes, but the farmer still has to figure out all the logistics unless an organization like this exists. So the part I want to focus on right now of the three, of that important three-legged stool, is the gleaner. Who are these people? Where have you found them? What are, any issues that arise other than the ones we can think of because they're volunteers, right? So tell us a little bit about, first of all, how many gleaners did it take to do 600 pounds on your farm, Joy and Duskie?
I think there were about four or five pickers.
Yeah, there were actually 3 from our team and then 2 from your team. So there were 5 of us, yeah. And, but we work with over 300 volunteers. The amazing thing about volunteering in our organization is you can take it or leave it. It doesn't have to be an ongoing commitment, or it can be. So some people come twice a week because they can't get enough of it and it feels so right. But some people are busy and they just have a 1-2 hour period and they want to get out there and do it, and they can. You can, so we send weekly newsletter with a sign-up sheet, and people can sign up whenever they want, or they can say, I'd like to always come on Tuesday, and or whatever day it is. We glean, and it's really, I feel like, crazy easy for how rewarding it is. We generally glean for about 3 hours from 9 to noon. And then we distribute after that. And so some volunteers choose to stay on to drive it around so they see the other end. But some people say, I've done the part that's good for me and I'm done for the day. And so you can have whatever level of commitment is right for you. And we even have shifts that are just driving. We have a new project where we're delivering 300, if you can believe it, 300 CSA boxes from Feed Sonoma every single week to different places around Sonoma County. And so that is just driving alone if you don't want to go out and pick, So we have lots of different kinds of ways people can volunteer with us. And so with that, we have young and old, it's high schoolers all the way through until you're retired and wanting to fill your day that way. So we work with every single person who has, is willing to get out there and do something for somebody else.
And how many farmers are you working with?
We are now, if you can believe it, I just looked at the number today, working with over 225 farmers and properties, because we do it not only big farms, also if you just have one tree in your backyard, we try to make our way there with a team and get the goods. So nothing too small, nothing too big. Some of them we go with teams of 10 and we'll go a couple times in a month, Gabriel Farms is a farm that we're going to right now, which is Asian pears. And we go every single week this month. And Martinelli Vineyards also has an 80-acre apple orchard in the middle of it, if you can believe it. So we're going twice a week there, once a week with high schoolers and once a week with other volunteers. So, so we do big and small, and we try not to say no. We try to always say yes. And
so does the gleaning come after the farmer has actually picked the fruit that is going to the processor, going to the packing house, and has left some amount still in the orchard or tree when they decide, okay, this is it, stop, let's now work with you? Let's share with us kind of what that cycle looks like.
So it's ever changing. So flexibility is the name of the game. Some farms will call you and say, you have to get here before noon tomorrow because we're tilling it in. And so then we try to get out there before the tilling machine comes through and grab what, they've taken what they can sell, and this is all that's left, but they need to get to planting the next round. So sometimes it's like that. Sadly for the apples in our county right now, which is there's a big crisis in apples in our county right now because there is nowhere for them to process. There's no marketplace. It's crazy. It breaks my heart. Basically, all the apples in the marketplace are coming from either Washington or China, and none of the locals can sell or process their apples. And so that's why we're getting so many calls right now. There is nowhere for them to sell what they grow. And to me, that's tragic. But it's also lucky for the people who are hungry. And Slow Food, we created this whole relationship with Slow Food and 2 processors in town that were willing to make juice and applesauce. If we would bring the apples, they would make it into juice and sauce that would be shelf stable for Redwood Empire Food Bank for all year. It took a village, you know, it took everybody's connection. It took Slow Food knowing all the property owners that had the apples. It took Slow Food asking Manzana and Apple a Day if they would join us in this effort. And then it took obviously the army of over 300 gleaners that is going out there to make sure no apple is left behind. You know, we say no one and nothing left behind. So every property is different and every food product is different. We go to Front Porch weekly, which is a farm in Healdsburg, and also Jackson Family Farms. We almost weekly. We work with a farm called Farm to Fight Hunger, which exclusively grows for people in need. So every farm has a different sort of situation of whether they're growing on purpose. We even started a grow a row program this past spring because we were worried that farmers wouldn't expend the labor costs to replant. And so we then went to all the local nurseries who gave to us so that we could get people to add a row as they were planting their COVID gardens. So, you know, we just keep looking at what the newest problem is that's facing us and we seek solution, right? So, and that nothing goes wasted.
Right.
So.
Do you know, Joy or Dusky, do you know if there is a farm to pantry effort to this level of significance that involves this many farmers and this many food banks anywhere else in California?
Well, there are some. Gleaning is nationwide. There's an association of gleaners that is nationwide. And so many of them are volunteer run rather than having a paid staff person, which is, you know, I'm lucky because I actually have a position and am hopefully earning my keep. But but many of them are volunteer run, so they come and they go and they fade out because there's no consistent, reliable person to do the organizing. So that was part of Melita's mission, is that this wouldn't go away, and that it be something that remains beyond volunteers coming and going. But there are, you know, big organizations that are working, you know, with the big growers in the Central Valley that have huge trucks, you know, and like we're more very community rounded because we are we're gritty. I would say we're gritty. We're a workforce of 300 volunteers with me as the only full-time and 2 part-time people. And Sonoma County is uniquely posed. I always said when I had my restaurant and people would say, well, would you do the same idea somewhere else? And I would say, well, you can't do it anywhere else. Like the access that I have to locally grown everything is only here. And so that is the same lucky thing for Farm to Pantry and for people in Sonoma County who are in need, is that we grow everything here. It is so bountiful, our earth and our growers and our weather. And so I feel like there is no other gleaning organization like this one where, and now because I am connected with the ranching community, we're also bringing in locally grown pasture raised meat to all these locations. Like, so it's pretty incredible what Sonoma County has and gives.
Excellent. Joy, as you, again, you've done so much. You also now are certified as sustainable farming, right, with Iron Horse. But how many, so the apples were a huge bounty right now for Farm to Pantry. Are there other things in your garden that Farm to Pantry is going to be able to glean, grapes aside, for the wine?
Well, not the grapes, but now in the past, the answer would have been yes, because my father had a passion for tomatoes, and he had 300 tomato plants. And this is actually, in the day had always hoped that we would have someone like Duskie to be able to call on to say, please help us with our tomatoes. Instead, what we did is that we would have BLT parties right in the garden, and Duskie would come with her beautiful bacon that she and her husband have, Black Pig Farm, and we'd just take the tomatoes, and then of course Bubbles goes beautifully with tomatoes. So unfortunately, maybe I can get her back to take more pears. I have more pears, but I don't know that I'll have. And I see there's a question from Scott on whether you could eat smoke tainted grapes. Well, first of all, wine grapes taste different than table grapes. So, and I've never actually sat down and enjoyed wine grapes as a snack, maybe because they're too valuable. But but I don't know if I can't think why smoke. I don't know the answer. I guess is I have no idea whether. I guess the question is whether smoke taint would bother you, but that would also be true of our tomatoes and everything else we grow. So I would think not. I would think not.
Okay. So I want to, Dusky, you have one of your stakeholders, you have a farmer here, not from Sonoma, my sister, basically, and Taylor's godmother on, and she's also been a guest, and she has some questions. So Liz, I'd like to unmute you so you can ask the questions. Okay, go. What? Wait a minute.
I think she has to unmute herself.
You're unmuted. Go ahead, Liz. Nope, it muted again. Unmute yourself. Nope, you're still muted, Liz. There you go. Okay, go ahead.
I wrote them down. I wrote my questions down. That's fine. I was just curious as to, who provides the bins, or do you pick in bins or cartons? What kind of training do you provide?
On the food product, we pick into either, we have these IKEA blue bags. So everybody gets a blue bag, and we pick most vegetables into those. But if it's a heavy thing like apples or pears or quince, like at Joy's place, we pick into 5-gallon buckets. And in both cases, we come back to a tarp filled with boxes, and we empty our bucket or our bag into the boxes and label them and distribute in empty wine boxes that have been donated from all the wineries. So we basically, all the wineries have tasting rooms and are sampling, right? So they have boxes that are always around and available. So we have numerous wineries that we stop at to pick up their empty boxes. And so ultimately the food ends up either in a wine box or a see-through plastic garbage bag. Depending, like lettuces would end up in a see-through plastic bag, a clear plastic bag. But so we have a little bit of gear, but mostly the boxes that the food is delivered in are all donated.
Nice. What kind of training? I have so many questions because I think this is a fabulous program. We have something similar in Fresno County, but it's not done on the real one-on-one level that you do, and it's really cool what you're doing. But But what training do you provide the gleaners, and how do you handle the food safety or global gap? Like we're under global good agricultural practices. It's a marketing thing that we have to comply with, and for them to sell our nectarines and plums.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of regulations on letting people on your property and what they have to do and
Well,
all of that.
the joy
And
of
also,
being,
my last question then, and then I'll go.
I know. So we have insurance. I mean, that's the joy of being a
That's
formal
what I was going to ask,
organization.
liability.
And the
Mhm.
insurance protects the landowners. And we also have releases that the volunteers sign. So that is ideally trying to provide the safety. There is the Good Samaritan law that protects the food donor, but also we do label everything. That's what we've been asked to do. So we have stickers that we stick on every box that says the property and the date, and it tells people that they have to wash the produce both in Spanish and in English. But we also, because of COVID, we've added even more layers about safety, right? So we hand sanitize at the beginning. We sanitize all the gear at the beginning of every glean and at the end of every glean. So there's a lot of protocols. We always have a leader on the glean. Usually it's so I'm the only full-time person, and there are 2 part-time people. So we try to have one of the 3 of us on every single glean. But we do have 2 volunteer glean leaders that we have trained how to lead gleans also, so that we can do up to 5 in a single day and time. But so, yes, there is training. And then when we get to a given property, there is training by that property owner about that produce. Like, so Gabriel Farms will teach us how he wants us to harvest his Asian pears. Or Yael at Bernier will teach us where to cut the arugula so that it keeps growing for her. Or, so there is, I would say somewhere between 5 and 15-minute how-to from the grower at the beginning. So, because we always try to leave their place better than we found it. We never want to make anyone not happy to have us back, right? So, so we try to hear from them how they want it, and then we try to make sure we do even better than that. So,
Thank you.
Fabulous, fabulous. Shelley, do we have any other questions in chat that I'm not seeing?
We don't, but I actually had an observation and a question. The first is that I love listening to Duskie talking about these incredible relief efforts, really. And the whole time you were talking, you had a champagne cork in your hand. And I thought, how beautiful is that? And it's just really a great thing. And then I really,
noise.
I was curious. I really just wanted to know if you had a kibbutz, for the kibbutz model for like a 13-year-old, because I have one, and I could drop them off for like a couple weeks.
But you 2 can come together.
Okay, perfect. We're signing up.
I get a 2 for 1.
Perfect.
And do you guys, in terms of volunteering and getting volunteers, how do you, for example, what are some of the efforts that you guys use to get volunteers? Word of mouth, or how do you, and I know you have your newsletter.
Well, so it's things like this. I mean, people may think I'm a media hog, but it's with intention. It's to get the gleaners, growers, and givers to join us for sure. So it's repeatedly putting our name out there. And so we have a website, farmtopantry.org, and you can hit one of those buttons, whether you are a grower and you want us to harvest, or whether you're a gleaner and you want to join us, or whether you're a giver and you want to support this effort. And so if you hit the gleaners button, you'll receive a weekly sign-up sheet that you can take it or leave it. So it doesn't need to feel pressureful. And when the calling is right, you can just sign up that week. So we would love people to go to farmtopantry.org and hit the gleaners button and give us their info, so you can be hearing from us about the opportunities.
I think you'll have about 38 new people doing that as soon as they get off of the salon, looks like. And we've got a couple in each window. So this is great. 200 plus farmers. So, and you were saying, in Sonoma County, you grow everything, right? How many food banks are we talking about, and about how many customers does that equate to, the people that we're feeding?
Yeah, so we are working with 70 partner agencies. There's one major food bank here called the Redwood Empire Food Bank.
Yep.
But there are many agencies that are working with people in need. So some of the names that I would throw out, some of you may have heard of, Ceres, Corazon, Food for Thought. Let's see, we even this weekend delivered some apples to the free farmers market in the Mission in San Francisco, actually. But let's see, where else? We work with childcare centers that are in people's private homes in the Roseland district, which is a high need neighborhood in Sonoma County. We work with, let's see, who else? Ortiz Plaza, Burbank Housing. I mean, the list is long. It's 70 organizations basically that are trying to help people wherever they are in need. So, and so it's both grocery programs if you have a kitchen, but it's also for meal programs like Sonoma Family Meal if you don't have a kitchen. So we are meals for the homeless or boxes and bags for people who do have access to a kitchen.
Got it.
And remember, the Redwood Empire Food Bank serves Sonoma County all the way up to the Oregon border. So it is a very major source of food for those in need. And it is the place during, sadly, disaster, but also on an ongoing basis. So providing for that place alone. And again, the key here is that it's fresh produce. And that's what's gorgeous about this entire program, is that it is food, yes, but it is fresh produce. And instead of, the other side of the equation is cutting out that waste, which is so incredibly tragic. And if we can just harness the waste and get it to the people who need it, we can recalibrate our food security situation. And I have to agree with Duskie, there's nothing quite like being in Sonoma County. No offense, Marin, but
Well, Marin too. I mean, I love all our Marin County farmers and ranchers. And in terms of the numbers, when you were asking, so it's 70 organizations, but per week we're gleaning, somewhere between 7,000 and 13,000 pounds a week. And since the beginning of 2020, we have gleaned over 100,000 pounds, which means over 400,000 servings since January of 2020. So just so you can get an idea, we don't know how many people get it twice a week, because I don't know if they're going to multiple organizations, or, so I don't say people, I say servings, because that's what I know is servings. But
Yep.
Yeah, so, and I do want to put a shout out for all of you folks in Marin County. I'm working on a project that is for Marin and Sonoma County called the Bay Area Ranchers Co-op. And we're trying to solve the harvest issue that is making our ranchers now drive over 250 miles for their animals. It's tragic, and we need a fix for that. So I've been working on that with a group of 80 ranchers also. So if you're interested in that, you can go to bayarearanchers.com and get some info about that project, because we're trying to save local meat in our counties. So.
Wow. So another whole issue that's right here that, it is all about, getting the word out through, we like to think through collective conscience and our own blog, but it's making sure, and Shelley and I have a commitment to making sure that our connections are and I stopped saying viral spread of great work, because of course that simply conjures up the wrong thing right now. But you know what I mean. And you can't say it will be a good issue that catches fire. Can't do that. So It really limits the entire vernacular when you're in the middle of all of this crap. But
You can't even say that like the bacon is applewood smoked. Nobody wants to hear about smoke.
Right. That's the thing. It's a feel-good California story. There aren't a lot of really great stories coming out of California right now, and it's a really, particularly the region that you're in. I think that for people to hear about this and understand how they can do something and be productive and proactive and engaged, I think people are really hungry for that.
Well, I think the thing that's beautiful about it is that we all are doing what we can and giving what we can. And if that's the whole thing. I mean, I wish I could just solve everything, but I do what I can do. And as Duskie pointed out, it gives you the best feeling. I mean, it was just and it happened that the day that Duskie and company came and picked, it was the day of the harvest moon. And so it was just so poetic. It was the best way to celebrate the harvest moon, in my opinion.
And I think, Dusky, you also have what you might be holding the cork of. Your fabulous bottle right there.
And now she has the bottle.
I have to say that was the best glean of all. So like if you look at the sign up sheet, make sure the day that it says like Forestville, Sterling, you want to sign up for that one, because at the end we all stayed a couple minutes longer to have a little harvest moon. So
incredible.
That was.
Oh yeah, you can't glean at Iron Horse without having bubbles. Although I'm embarrassed, Dusky, because they were supposed to give you bottles, not sips. But the
bottle. They gave me a bottle.
Okay, good.
I'm like, now everybody's gonna be like, when are you going to Sterling's property again?
Amazing. So, one of the things that we've talked about on Collective Conscience with Liz Hudson and Chef Rochelle Boucher is that, California feeds 71% of the nation between all of the bounty that we grow in the state, right? And it is really important to be able to do that and to continue that. And in the strata of the number of farms you were talking about, there's, you'll go to somebody's house that has 1 or 2 trees, but most of them, we're not talking, or are we, about the big corporate farms? It sounds to me like the biggest number of growers who are significant to farm to pantry are the family farms. Is that fair to say?
Yes, absolutely. There's not, or even property, so much of the landscaping in Sonoma County is edible. Everybody has a citrus tree in their backyard or an apple tree in their backyard. So everybody has more than they can use unless they are really good at canning. So we're there to solve that problem,
Got it. Well, and Jill, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just, Terry's question's been hanging out for a little bit here. And she'd like to know, would there be a way to get apples to learning hubs in San Francisco so that students can have fresh fruit?
Well, so as I said, this weekend, we had a bunch of farm to pantry gleaned apples at the free farmers market that takes place in the Mission, I think on Sundays. In San Francisco. So they sent a van up here and I filled their van with cucumbers, tomatoes, apples, pears, so yes, it would be possible. We would need a driver to be the go-between, but certainly it would be possible. Yeah. So if somebody wants to rally some troop, some of a driving army that would commit, we could play on that game to get there.
Now you can see why Dusky is my friend. Her answer is always yes.
It's wonderful.
It's always yes. And, on our planet, that's the way we like it.
Exactly. Well, I think also, the challenge that children, around the world, but let's even keep it to this California story right now, with COVID and not the ability to go into a classroom, therefore not be at a central place to get their meals, to get, their breakfast and or their lunch, which that might have been the only food they got that day. So it seemed like there was an enormous effort needed to figure out how to get those children and therefore the families food that otherwise they wouldn't have, because we just knocked out that fast. The quote unquote central distribution system of our schools, which provided those meals. Was Farm to Pantry able to really pivot quickly to help distribute food beyond this?
Yes, so some of the food boxes that I described to you, the CSA boxes, we work with Cornerstone, and they are going directly, the distribution location is on school campuses some of the time, so that the parents are familiar with going there and feel safe there. So yes, we are getting boxes of produce to some of the school locations. And we also are working with a farm called Bear Farm, which is in the Roseland district in Sonoma County, which is a community garden of 70 families in the Roseland district. They farm there, but they also have been doing a lunch program there ever since the start of the pandemic for the kids. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, they feed lunch to at least somewhere between 60 and 70 kids. And so we're dropping fruit off there as a snack. You know, and we're working with the childcare, all the childcare places in the neighborhoods in Sonoma County. So there's a lot of effort to make sure the kids are getting access to good immunity boosting produce.
Wonderful. So I'd ask this of each of you to answer it separately. What could the group you have here on Collective Conscience, again, about 40 people tonight, what could, if you could wish for one thing that each of us could do in the effort to further, I hate to even call it a cause, to further the momentum, what it means to provide sustainable foods to people who otherwise wouldn't have it, what could we do? You, Joy, you want to start?
Well, I would go immediately to farmtopantry.org and sign up in some way. That would be step one for me. Duskie? And thank you, Shanda. Done. Love it.
So you're bringing me and on for you. Also for you and everybody else. That your power, to me, the power that we all do have that nobody can take away from us is in the choice of how we spend our dollar. And for me, I have always said, no face feeds you, and that you bear the responsibility for the path of that dollar. And so if you can shop at a farmer's market, or if you're going to a grocery store, sure it was made in Marin or Sonoma, San Francisco or Oakland or Northern California, support farmers here, because we will lose them. We will lose them if you don't pay money for them to farm here. We need the farmers to survive. We need the ranchers to survive. And in terms of global warming, which obviously in Sonoma County that is forefront on the mind, is that we need to not be buying our from elsewhere. We need to support a system that is here, make sure it's strong enough so that we're okay. Because we can be okay, but we can also be at risk if all of our ranchers exist anymore. And we are now dependent on meat from the middle of the country when the plants are shutting vegetarian, which I was for 23 years, but I don't think all of Northern California wants to be a vegetarian. So we very much need to support our local winemakers. I always say, if you don't know them or if you can't tell their story, pick one that you do know. So you don't need to buy, I know France makes great things, but so does California. You need to support the people here. So to me, put your money where it should be in the hands of the people who need it. So, right. And go to farmtopantry.org.
Well, you already have people signing up. We're already seeing it. Shonda immediately, she said done.
In the chat, the links are, both links are in the chat.
Links in chat. And this has been great. I mean, it really continues our fall pairings in such an important way. And gratitude has been a theme that has threaded through our collective conscience salons so many times and in so many ways. Joy, you now have the new gratitude bubbly that is out.
We do. Well, it's not out yet.
Ah,
October 23rd is the release. Whoops, sorry, you can now tell that that's really Iron Horse behind me, but it's a virtual screen. So we produce a limited production bubbly called Gratitude, and we are about to release the 4th vintage. The first release came in October of 2017. We had planned to make a Thanksgiving wine, and then the reality of those fires gave meaning to the wine beyond what we had normally conceived of. So we released it in October, and $5 a bottle goes to the Redwood Empire Food Bank. And so this has been 4 vintages. The production is about 400 cases. So the math is pretty simple, and it's every year. And that is for us just a perfect thing. So it comes out October 3rd. I want to point out that it is vintage 2013. So it is top quality. It's aged 6+ years on the yeast in the bottle. And it's very yummy. And it would barely last through Thanksgiving, but of course it's perfect for that. But right now, Gratitude in the form of bubbles just feels so right.
yep.
At least when you're looking at the photograph behind me, you can see that we definitely have a lot to be grateful for. And you know, everything, COVID, the fires, it all feels so random. You know, it's an ember on the wind. And so we fully recognize how incredibly lucky we are. And so it is just part of our DNA to give back. And this is our way. Our way is producing wine and having others benefit because of it.
And you have, to that end, Joy, if I'm not, this is not the spoiler event, I hope, that right after Gratitude, you then release Joy, and then you release Resilience.
Yeah, do you see a path here? We have Gratitude, Joy, and then Resilience. I mean, it's like, yes, that's where we're headed. Well,
Sure.
Joy, go figure, we'd have a wine called Joy. I mean, really. But so we've been making that for a while, and it only comes in magnums, of course. But Resilience is brand new. And that is I don't know what the right word is, tribute to the vintage. Commemoration, I don't know. I have to, you know, we're going to release it December 1st. We're still doing the dosage trials. The base wine is a 2016 Brut. It will be a rosé. We're determined to have it be a rosé just because
Wonderful.
we don't have one right now. And life is just empty without a rosé. So we'll have to have a rosé. And clearly, in this family, you know, when in doubt, create a new cuvée. That's just what we do. But Resilience, the money for that, again, $5 a bottle, that will go to the Sonoma County Resilience Fund. What marketing genius figured that out? So, and it's a great organization also. And then we have Ocean Reserve that benefits protecting marine protected areas, establishing marine protected areas. And it was just a great thing to see our governor sign an executive order that will preserve 30% of natural lands and waters and agriculture in the country by 2030. So it's all of these things are adding up. I really do believe we're going to be all right because of everybody who's on this call.
Wonderful. Well, to that end, we are at the end of this week's Collective Conscience, and I thank you everyone who has joined us this evening. I hope you have, if you live locally, I hope you definitely will join them. If you live in a different county or a different state, find out what is going on in your county or state to be a part of this, because you can tell how important, or come visit us when you feel it's safe to travel, and you can tell you there's plenty to do, and Duskie and the team at Farm to Pantry will put you to work, and it will feel great. I think we could call that ecotourism, pretty sure. All right.
Yes.
Everybody, thank you again. It was wonderful. Joy and Duskie, thank you so much from Shelley and me. We really are grateful, and we can't wait to see you soon.
Very soon.
Thank
Thank you.
you.